Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you very much for listening to part one of the Madeline Kingsbury story. I think that her story, her true story, has not received the attention that it should. The true story was, I don't want to say concealed. It's just that, as we can see here, she did not report what was really going on. She did not report that she was being mistreated and physically abused in front of her children and otherwise, and most likely financially exploited, as he was not working, and she was the sole breadwinner. I believe she was finishing her master's degree, if I remember right. Again, I wish that I could show you the images of her, but I'm not computer savvy, as all of you know that. And those of you who are new to my channel, hello. I'm old. I'm 51. And I'm a mom of 6, so I've got 3 teenagers in college right now. So they could help me. They could edit and they could do that, but I don't want that. I want to be genuine. I want people to hear me, and that sometimes means that my videos are not tech savvy. They're not high tech. They're not anything to look at, but I hope that you hear me. And I've had a really good I've had really good luck so far in having people of like minds that do listen, and then they find that the beauty of my videos is that you don't have to be sitting in front of a computer to watch and understand and see everything. That you can just turn me on. Hey, baby, turn me on. Just kidding. Just turn my videos on while you're washing the dishes and gardening and whatnot. People tell me they take me everywhere, and that's very, very important to me, because I believe that my platform here is to share stories and to share the stories that are untold, to give the backstory. My whole life, I've wanted the rest of the story. Just like, if you guys are old enough to remember, what was his name? Harvey, whatever. And he was on the radio and he'd be like, and that's the rest of the story, and that's the way the ball bounces. But I always loved shows like Dateline and whatnot, because they went behind the headlines. And then as I got older, I found that not even Dateline knows everything, that, you can find out a lot by other internet sleuths. Web sleuths has proven itself in solving at least one case and giving a lot of information that big channels can't, because big channels have to vet everything that they say through their attorneys, because they have to make sure that what they're saying is okay with their sponsors. And if it isn't okay with their sponsors, they're not going to say it. And that's not getting the whole truth out. And I don't believe that that's what we are put here on earth to do. We weren't put on earth to be essentially filtered in what we know. Before the age of television, radio even, people spoke to each other, and there was history, his story. It was stories of what had happened, and people would get together and talk about what had happened and why something happened and how to prevent something like that from happening again, what we can learn from it. That is missing in our society, and that is what I believe needs to come back. We need to talk, and we need to not fear what we say will not be financially backed. That, in essence, our mainstream media is cheapened, because they can only say what's going to get them paychecks. That's not the truth. That's not how we form ethics and morals and learn and become full of wisdom as we get older, and wisdom that we can hand down to our children. And Madeline's story is exactly that. Madeline was ahead of her years in her education. Such a smart girl, such a beautiful, young, smart girl. So fun. She smiles in every picture that I've seen. She's just happy, genuinely happy. And it's really sad that this man couldn't figure out how to add to that happiness, that instead he took from that happiness. For whatever reason, he wanted to be angry and to try to control her, and he controlled her to the point where he took her life from her. He took the air out of her lungs. He took her life from her. Madeline's story needs to be told for what it is, and we need to figure out why Madeline didn't feel comfortable going forward with exposing Adam Taylor Fravel for the abusive piece of shit that he is. Because had she have felt safe enough to reach out to domestic violence shelters that would have worked with her to have had a safety plan, they would have put a restraining order on him. Now, restraining orders are a piece of paper. A piece of paper can be torn. We all know that. So there has to be something more than just the order. It has to be the plan. That's what domestic violence shelters are there for. There's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. I should put that in the description. It's on Google. One of the things that's really cool about when you call the National Domestic Violence Center or text, there are ways that they tell you to be able to hide your history of calling them or texting them in your phone. So if you fear that somebody's going to see that number or see it in your phone, they will help you through that. Now, where Madeline lived is very, very rural. Could that have been why she didn't think the resources were there? It's a problem in Minnesota, and it's a problem in the United States. It's a problem in the world. There are more shelters for animals than there are for abused women, and there aren't enough shelters for abused animals, as we know. So if there isn't enough for abused animals, there's not nearly enough for abused women. We need to work on making more places of protection for abused animals, for abused women. To know that is a factor, that there are more shelters for animals than there are for women, you need to look at both. Both are vulnerable, and both can and will be mistreated, and both need protection. That's where the money needs to go. The money doesn't need to go to opportunistic YouTube creators such as, well, you know what? I don't think I'm going to say it in this video. I'm just going to say right now, if you look through my other videos in the playlist, you will see that there's a creator who is very opportunistic, and she makes her money off of the tragedies of others. So she started talking about this case just because she knew that it would get her money, and it did. It got her money because what she uses the money for is to go to Trump rallies, which is fine. Just be honest in that. But what she did was she was saying that she was wanting all this money to come and find Madeline, but she actually went to a Trump rally and then hopped in town for this, but was telling people she was going to Idaho for the Idaho 4, which she'd already done. But all the while she kept using Madeline's name. She didn't know Madeline. She didn't know her story. She doesn't have any of the story at all. Madeline's family and the police department down in her area put together very, very concise and calculated areas in which they wanted searched. As we can tell from these documents that have been unsealed, they know exactly the area they wanted. They weren't going to be needing to look for her in Idaho. They weren't looking for her in Iowa, where the Trump rally was. They weren't looking for her in Milwaukee. They knew the time frame. They knew where Adam was. They knew what he had been doing, and they knew that he switched the license plates. The searches that they had, because this is rural, the sheriffs and the volunteers would call property owners in that area and say, hey, we know that something happened and we do believe that we are looking for Madeline's body. Can you please do a property search on your acreage and whatnot, and call us back to let us know how well your search went. If you found anything, call us right away. So those properties and those big farms were doing that. Now, there was a lot of area that was flooded and very dangerous because of the flooding. So a lot of people who are in the horse world, that are horse riders, that are, what do you call them, equestrian? I can't say the word. I love horses. I absolutely love horses, but I am so deathly allergic to horses that I go into anaphylactic shock if I even touch them. And I'm trying to work on that because I really love horses, and I loved horseback riding as a child, even though it would make my actual eyeballs swell out of the sockets and I'd have to end up in the hospital. I love horses. So I'm just not rattling off the terminology as I should. I do apologize. I know what I'm talking about. It just doesn't come because of the COVID brain and everything else. You know what I'm talking about. The horse people. The horses. So people on horse groups that have horses and are riders, we're talking back and forth, and it was beautiful. I was watching it, and they'd be like, hey, I have a horse. I'm free on this date and that date, but I don't have a trailer. And somebody else would be like, I have a trailer and I'm planning on going. How about if I pick you up and then I'll board your horse with mine? We'll go and then we'll ride together and look at this. That's beautiful. That's what small town is. That's the way it's supposed to be. I'm not going to say her name, but that person who raised a lot of money to pad her pockets to put a new roof on her house on Madeline's name. Now, those searches each day talked about where they were going. They had all of the instructions for everywhere and everything that they needed done during the searches. They had it down to a science as to what they needed donated, whether it be water, food, anything like that for the searchers to go. It was all organized, and each searcher was informed as to what to do, where to walk, what to say, what to do if they found something, walking together. So everything was then crossed off in the areas where then it was searched. Now, I kept calling and reaching out and saying, hey, I'm available on this day. I can bring me and my son. I've told you guys about my son who has mild cerebral palsy. He would have went with me. We would have taken the day and went down, because we go all over looking at everything nature, because the kid loves everything nature. We have checked out all 10,000 lakes and 20,000 ponds twice or so in the area. And so there were some areas that they wanted specifically looked at that my son and I talked about that we would probably do well in those areas because of how well my son knows to navigate bogs and whatnot. So we offered, and each time we offered, they said, no, we have enough people for this time and that, and then we don't think the weather is going to be safe here. And they did not want anyone looking by themselves. They did not want another tragedy out of this. This is dangerous land that had a lot of flooding, very unsafe territory, very barren, unsafe territory. So they had, which is the case in a lot of these that you see, more volunteers than they needed. So people were offering and they were saying, hey, we're okay here. We don't need anything yet, but if we do, this is this. Okay. So they canceled a few searches due to weather. They had to be canceled. So this big Mother's Day search was going to be the one. The weather was going to be right. A lot of people were coming down. Well, what do you know? The one who I'm not going to say right now, his name, but if you look through my playlist, you're going to find out who I'm talking about. She barged into town saying that she was a member of the press. She barged into town after going to a Trump rally and set up her little table and her blowhorn, and in the cul-de-sac of where Maddie and Adam's townhouse was, she sat down and she started going door to door, interviewing the neighbors, asking the neighbors what they saw that day, and if they saw Adam, interacting with the kids, what the kids were like, if they saw Adam driving with the kids, if they saw Maddie. Do you understand what I just said? I just said that somebody who's not a member of the press came and interfered with an active investigation, going to neighbors, which are possible witnesses to a murder. By her doing that and interfering with an active investigation, those people that she interviewed for herself to bolster her channel to get more money for her personal lifestyle, those people may not be able to be called to the stand now, should this go to a full trial. She had no business doing it. She is claiming that she has an exclusive interview that she took one of the neighbors to McDonald's and recorded them, but did it off the record. So what does that say? This is why people should not be doing what this person is doing. This person had no business exploiting the name of Madeline Kingsbury. One of the people called the sheriff's department very wisely and said, hey, the press is out here, and I just gave them an interview. And the sheriff's like, what? Who's there? Oh, yeah, the press is out here interviewing us. And the sheriff's very rightly so said, do not say anything. That is not press. We know what happened. And very quickly they got together and they canceled the search for that weekend, the big search for Mother's Day weekend, because they knew then that the tragedy pimps were in town and they were trying to exploit Madeline Kingsbury's story for their own good. That they were going to be there with their cameras going and searching in areas that were not safe. That if they found something, they would be using it for their own good. And one of these days, they are going to end up causing a guilty person to walk free because of their selfish desires in tragedy pimping. This is what is at stake here. This is why it's not funny what they're doing. This is why the tragedy pimping needs to stop. And I'm talking these people have all of their subscribers fooled into thinking that they have a nonprofit agency called Boots on the Ground, which they don't. These people are getting so many donations and personal sponsors. They're having airfare, hotel, everything paid, and their entire lifestyle. These people don't have to work at all. All of their rent, electricity, lights, cell phone, meals of this person commands $100 a meal for her cost and a new roof. This person is using stories like Madeline's to do what she's doing. And it's wrong. And as you can see, a small town pulled together very well here. Please listen to my playlist and you'll understand what I'm saying. That person is also very litigious, and I don't feel like getting sued, but if I do get sued for just saying what I've said, I don't care. I am telling the truth, and I don't mind speaking in front of a judge to tell exactly what I said so that it brings more attention to the problem of tragedy pimping. Now, with that being said, on my channel, of course, I I need money just like the last person. And I have explained very truthfully that for over my over 1.5 years work now, I got I got my channel, I started my channel a year ago, June, and I got monetized this March. And so for my 15 months of work, I have received one check from YouTube for $121. So the money is not there for honest creators who are not tragedy pimping. Okay? That's why it helps me very much when something as simple as, like I say, if we feel like we're sitting here having coffee, you know what? Please send me a super chat, or on my Cash App, please send me coffee money on my Cash App, however much you think it would be for coffee and lunch or whatever. My Cash App is Tabitha Jane 13. And I think that that's what creators should be able to do. I think that creators should be able to, have their Cash App stated, or PayPal, however they like to take money. And that's that. And they can mention it like that. Like, if you like listening to this or whatever, please send me a tip. But this bullshit of them having their entire lifestyle and all of the vacations they want funded for the reasons in which they want them. This particular person is with another group that is causing a lot of problems in the Trump world. They were the January 6th type of people. They were, I don't want to get into it, but that's what they're doing. So at these Trump rallies, they have their own agenda set up, and they're causing problems within that as well. So that whole search that was planned by us for a long time had to be canceled because they were in town and they didn't want the tragedy pimps to do what they have done, what they've done at the laundries, what they did at the Quentin Simon house. They didn't want it. So the investigators and everybody made a good decision to shut it down until the tragedy pimps got back on the plane and where they were supposed to go back to, Florida. And Manatee Woman was back where she belonged, in Manatee. That being said, the next couple of weeks, there were still little searches and whatnot, but then it was on a tip, it sounds like, but it was more of the investigators went to the area that they found out was associated with Adam Fravel and where he had went as a child, and where his parents and family were known to be familiar with, that they found Maddie 69 days later. Now, I looked into this attorney, Zachary Bauer, because it really was odd to me seeing Meshbesher and Spence, knowing that Meshbesher and Spence has its name on, they do disability cases and personal injury. That's the only thing I've ever seen advertised. So I looked into them, and it does say, it says, all these other things they do. And then the very last thing, it does say criminal defense. And that was new to me because their advertising doesn't say that. And I wonder if that's new to their practice. I don't know. I mean, they are a bigger firm, and they have an office in Rochester. Rochester is down very near to these tinier towns where we're talking about Winona. We're talking about Winona and Mabel and Fillmore. So Zachary Bauer himself, it looks like he was a former prosecutor, a public defender prosecutor. It looked like he was the assistant public defender for, I don't know if it said for Rochester itself. I can't remember right now. He has an okay reputation. There is somebody who gave him a 3 out of 5 rating. Person doesn't go on to say what happened. If you're on the other side of a public defender and you have the opportunity to ruin that public defender's reputation, you do it. So you can't really glean too much from that 3 out of 5 rating. The other ratings look pretty good, look like he's pretty well received. And with his history of being a former prosecutor and now going into private practice with Meshbesher and Spence is interesting. It sets Adam up well for his defense. But as we see, it sounds like he has a pretty clear-cut case. And as they're going for second degree, that has 40 years, I believe we saw here. I don't know what they're trying to get at trial, but we'll see. We'll see what they're trying to do. I'll be there. Like I say, I'll be there and I'll give you guys all the details. So this is where I stopped here. And this is where this page starts, and it says the state of Minnesota and the county of Winona in the district court, and the 3rd Judicial District is in the criminal division. This is a notice of motion and motion for continuance for the state of Minnesota as the plaintiff versus Adam Taylor Fravel, the defendant. To the Honorable Nancy Bientendorp, Judge of District Court, and Philip Propowitz, Special Assistant, Winona County Attorney. And that's where they had put that Special Assistant County Attorney in here, because they knew this was going to be a big case. I think they were very wise in saying, hey, we need extra help. And I think it's great that the state agreed and will put those resources in if they're asked. I really think that's great. Also, I wanted to note one of the things that I found when I was looking through everything, and they wanted people to call in if they had seen the van. Well, we now know that they wanted to know how far that van went, so then they would be, really, really closing in on the areas where they thought that he had put Maddie. But I didn't understand why they had not said the license plate of the van. I'm like, what is this? They're asking for, if you've seen this van, but they don't put the license plate. How are you supposed to, go back on your, because some people have dash cams and stuff that they can go back and look. And, there's a lot of vans like that. So wouldn't you want to know what the plate was? Well, now knowing that they know that he switched the plates before he went on his drive, that's really interesting that they didn't say the plate, because they knew that. And that's going to be really hard to explain as to why he did that. This Zachary Bauer has a tough case in front of him. Says here, please take notice that Zachary Bauer, Meshbesher, and Spence, attorney for the defendant, asserting the substantial rights of the state are not prejudiced, hereby moves the court for an order continuing the default omnibus hearing in this matter that is currently scheduled for July 20th, 2023 at 1:45 by Zoom. The discovery in this matter is voluminous and ongoing, and defense counsel was advised earlier in the week that an additional packet of discovery, approximately 400 pages, will be disclosed this week. Furthermore, Mr. Propowitz has indicated that additional testing by the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will be occurring in the next 2 weeks, with results available by mid-August. Finally, defense counsel is still awaiting all body camera footage from law enforcement's involvement in this matter. Given the complexity of the investigation and the voluminous nature of the discovery, the parties jointly agree that the default omnibus hearing scheduled for July 20th at 1:45 be continued to a date after September 4th, 2023. This continuance would allow for the completion of discovery. As discussed above, defense counsel has contacted Mr. Propowitz, and he joins in this request, dated 7/19/2023, and that's signed with the letterhead of the Meshbesher or not letterhead, but the signature of Meshbesher and Spence Limited, Zachary Bauer. And so that's where he's the attorney for the defendant. Looks like he's in private practice now, not a public defender anymore. Not defender, a public. The county prosecutor. Okay? So, in the state of Minnesota, the county of Winona filed in District Court, State of Minnesota, District Court, 3rd Judicial District, an order for discovery. Whereas this court previously orders regarding discovery for the below listed warrants and search warrant, pen, trap, trace orders that were previously sealed or not filed, given that the below listed search warrants and search warrant, pen, trap, trace orders are being filed in accordance with Minnesota Rules of Criminal Procedure 33 and Minnesota Statute 626A, whereas the Winona County Attorney's Office has permission to disclose the below referenced documents to the defense in file 85 TAC CR TAC 23 TAC 937, State of Minnesota versus Adam Taylor Fravel, and in any related criminal cases, if any, as discovery pursuant to the Minnesota Rules of Criminal Procedure, along with a copy of the respective orders. Okay. Well, that's a whole lot of nothing saying, hey, moving towards discovery, we need this. Now, therefore, it is ordered, once the Winona County Court Administrator or her duly authorized designee has processed the filing and unsealing requests on the below listed documents, she or her duly authorized designee shall serve a copy of this order on the defense in file 85 TAC CR TAC 23 TAC 937 in the state of Minnesota versus Adam Taylor Fravel. The below referenced documents may then be maintained by the defense pursuant to the Minnesota Rules of Criminal Procedure and Minnesota law. Okay, so now we have over here what they want, and it is repetitive, so just be prepared. If you need to go fill up your tea or anything like that, let me know and I'll let you. Here we go. Okay. So on 4/1/23, they want the application for the search warrant and supporting affidavit and search warrant for property described as 465 Cary Drive in Winona County. And they were applied and issued on April 1st, and the receipt, inventory, and return resulting therefrom, okay? And then they want, in regard to the application for search warrant and supporting affidavit and search warrant for the items described as a black iPhone handed to law enforcement by Adam Fravel in Winona County, Minnesota, applied for and issued on April 1, and the receipt, inventory, and return resulting therefrom. Okay, this is when they said they went into her apartment to be sure that she wasn't there. They were doing that on the well person check. Remember, her friend had said that she hadn't heard from her, and they went into the apartment and they made sure that she was not there. Well, then they went and they asked for that search warrant. So they got that search warrant that next day. This is that day where the big blizzard was. Okay, so they found her black iPhone, and it was handed to law enforcement by Adam Fravel. Okay, who does this sound like? It sounds exactly like Chris Watts, doesn't it? Remember when Chris Watts found the phone in the cushions and was, oh, goodness sakes. Yeah, if you haven't heard all that I have to tell you on Chris Watts, there's the whole thing, and I went back to the discovery. So although my viewpoint is unique at first, and you may not understand it, all of the documentation is there. I do not say that Chris Watts is innocent, not at all. However, I do believe that he has a case for a 35E, in that there is more to what was going on with him that was not stated, and his sentence should not be changed. He's exactly where he needs to be. He should not ever be free. However, there were some things that were going on that lead me to believe that he had sleep deprived psychosis. It's hard to explain, and I won't do too much here. I don't want to spoil everything, but listen to all my Chris Watts things, and then you'll see. But this is just totally giving me the Chris Watts vibe when I think of the phone being there. So this is all for what they got here on 4-1 and then 4-2. So they want the application for search warrant and supporting affidavit and SNAP data records for property described as SNAP Incorporated Data and Records for Adam, a foreign corporation providing services in Winona. Applied for and issued. What is that? Property described as SNAP Incorporated. Data and records for Adam. That's interesting. I want to know what that is. I'll move my bookmark to here because I want to know what that is. And an application for a search warrant and supporting affidavit for the motor vehicle described as the Blue Town and Country. Okay, we know that. And we know that license plate here. Now, the van, they are putting the license plate as NJV 450. Back in when I found that Madeline had the charge for speeding, it gave a license plate of 277 VYN. So she did not have that van then. Hers was an older, I mean, it's an older van. I don't know what year. Just your typical mom van. Just the mom van. Okay, so here we go. And here it's going to describe it. Because it says, application for search warrant and supporting affidavit in search warrant for the items described as the 2015 gray Chrysler 200. Okay. That's his car, right? A 2015 gray Chrysler 200. Because they don't say what year her van is. So he had a gray Chrysler 200, and hers was a blue van. Okay. And an HP Elite laptop at 42227 County Road 18 in Fillmore County. Okay. So they wanted his car, and they want his laptop. And on the second, the application for search and warrant supporting affidavit for property described as Verizon Data and Records for 507, a foreign corporation providing services. So they're talking about the that's his number then, or hers. They're talking, okay, so for Adam here, 6895. Okay, so for both of his. So they probably want to see when he was on the phone, when he was driving there. A foreign corporation providing services in Winona County. So what that is your internet provider. That's what that is. And then the application for search warrant and supporting affidavit for the HP Elite laptop with WSU sticker and barcode. Okay, now, WSU, you're like, wait a minute, Washington State University, that's where I'm from. I don't know if you understand that, but that's where I'm from, Washington State, right? Well, she went to Winona State, so that was Maddie's. So they're looking for her laptop and a black HP laptop. So maybe her work laptop, her laptop, his laptop. They got the serial numbers. And then on the third, they want the search warrant for their townhome. And then they want the search warrant for the black iPhone in black on a leopard case at Winona PD. So they had a search warrant for that phone, so probably to get in and look at the messages and see what her timing was and his timing was. And then when this trial is over, if it goes to a trial, if he moves to that, which it looks like he is, then all of this will come out and Discovery should be released, and then we'll have the rest of the story in here. We'll be able to look at the timelines on the phone and whatnot, just as I did in the Watts case. Now, this is what they want the search warrant. So on the 3rd here, they found out about the storage unit. So they're probably like, oh my God, is she in the storage unit? Which would be very, very logical, especially because he said he was going to that storage unit, and that's in Winona. And then they want the search warrant and supporting affidavit for the rose gold iPhone, okay? And then they want, so on the 3rd, they are asking again for the search warrant for the Blue Town and Country, and they already have that. That's that same license plate. So why? That's why I say a lot of it is repetitive, because that's already here. And what do they want here? They want the search warrant for 4 SD cards. Okay. Why do you want those? Application for search warrant and supporting affidavit, and the search warrant's items described as 4 SD cards from, and it's in Fillmore. Wonder why they want those. And then an application for a search warrant and supporting affidavit and search warrant for the person described as Adam Fravel. Okay, so they found him. And then they want to go to Edwards mini storage unit. Check that. So he must have had 2 storage units, because remember they were separating, they were moving, and he said he was putting his things in storage. It also sounds like he was going to be moving in with his parents, and so he was putting his items in storage, and they were going through their stuff to see what was going to go in storage, and she was taking her stuff with the kids to where she was. So that was the plan. Then it says here they want the search warrant for the Google data and records. They want to see what he Googled. And then they want to see something called WYZE Data and Records. WYZE, Data and Records. As a foreign company doing business. Okay. So maybe WYZE Data provides the internet service for Google, perhaps, the way this is listed back there. I don't know what WYZE Data and Records is as a foreign corporation doing business in Winona County. And then they have that they want the search warrant and supporting affidavit for, once again, so this is for his car. They want his Chrysler 200, because they took the van right away and they kept that. And then they want, they want the Chrysler. That's again, so that, again, this is repetitive right there. Okay. So we've got a whole lot of repetition in there, but sounds like, they're being very thorough, getting everything so then they can review it and they can see everything. And then we've got here, and I do believe that it's probably pretty much more of the same. Let's check it out here. I'm sorry, I should have like a little platform here where I can see this better and I wouldn't have to move around so much. Like I say, hopefully you guys are just listening and you guys have learned that you just listen to me. And I've been told by a lot of people that in a lot of these videos like this, I put people right to sleep, and I've actually gotten a couple people off of Ambien. So like, if you're on Ambien, you probably don't need it. You can just turn me on. Again, turn me on. Oh my God, I sound like Pee Wee Herman. Did you guys see that Pee Wee Herman passed away this week? You just turn my video on and listen, and it just may put you to sleep. So they want data from Aspire Bank of Missouri. Okay, that must be maybe where her paychecks are drawn from. And they want data from Avant. I don't know what that is. And they want Block Incorporated data and records for user tag Swishied. Okay, is this Cash App? Because I know that for my Cash App, there's like a $sign in front of it, and then like I say, mine is Tabitha Jane 13, but there's a $sign in front of it. So I wonder if, because remember when it said that she made the money and then she would transfer money in electronically to him to pay the household bills. So maybe that's what this is, but this is called Block Incorporated. I don't know if it's Cash App, but I would say because the way that user thing is. And then they want data from Credit One because logically, once he knew that she was no longer alive, maybe he went and took her money. And that goes to show that he's guilty because he knew she wasn't coming back. So he took her money because if she was coming back, she would need her money, but he would have known she was gone and nobody else knew she was gone. So that, speaks to his mindset. Okay. So then they want data from Genesis Financial Solutions, and I'm not sure what that is. It's another foreign company. And then data from Olo Bank. And then they want Adam Fravel, and this is again on 410. And then, once again, the Chrysler. So I don't know why they keep asking for it. And then, what do? They look at it, and then they put it back, and then they give it back. I don't know how that goes. Because then they want the Chrysler again. And this is a whole 10 days later. Let's see here. So then they want a Polaris Ranger for a vehicle described as Polaris Ranger. Okay, is that a snowmobile? I'm thinking it's a snowmobile. And that's probably a very big, they probably thought that was a big clue because as that blizzard hit, they could have inferred that he took her to a remote area. What if he talked her into going snowmobiling and he had a nefarious plan? That's very interesting. So then, this is for the WISE data again. This is for Meta Platforms data for records for Larry McCringleberry, 7 or user ID. Okay. And then another Meta Platforms for Maddie. Okay. And they did that. What they didn't call her Madeline, they called her Maddie, and it's just like that. MADDI, Maddie. She had beautiful tattoos as well. And everybody just said she was the most fun mom. She just loved her kids. Instead of going out partying with the girls, having a girls' night out, they said she wanted to sit down and do crafts with her kids. That's the kind of mom she was. She was a good girl by all accounts. Just a good girl and smart lady. And we've got this WISE data again. We'll have to figure out if that's the internet provider or what that is. And then we've got Ultra data and videos in Winona County. And let's see, is that maybe where the gas station footage saw him? And maybe that's what that is. And then they want an Apple iPad in glittery pink. In case bearing the barcode, there we go. And then they want multiple electronic devices and digital evidence in Winona County. Okay. And then they want FedEx data and videos. Okay. That's interesting. And then they want the premises back there in that townhome that was theirs. And then more of this. So they're very thorough. They are absolutely very, very thorough in making sure that they have everything, all of their search warrants and supporting affidavits for every single item. You can really tell that although this is a small town sheriff's office, they really do their work. And when they need help, they reach out, and they were granted that help. Let's see here. So again, for the address, now they want First Student Incorporated data and videos. Okay. And then they want FedEx and videos. And then they want Verizon data. They want the 2 SD cards. They want data from Aspire Bank of Missouri. And then they want this Olo Bank again. And this is in May. So I don't know if then they were watching the financials to see what he was doing with the financials, because during this time she was still missing, of course. And then here's another address that they wanted searched, and more video. And then a findings order and tracking warrant for the property described as pen register, trap and trace, tracking too. Okay, so they were interesting. So they're saying that there was an order for a tracking warrant on the first here, a tracking warrant for that phone number, so they could track and trace that phone number and probably provide locations. And that's where they were so specific in the areas that they knew that they needed searched. And then it says here they wanted mobile tracking device. Okay. So they wanted items described as mobile tracking device on the Chrysler. Okay. A mobile tracking device. Did they put that on his car? And what would that mean? Because it says that they wanted a mobile tracking device on the Chrysler. Or is that saying that certain cars where they have the service, like Chrysler may have the what is it, the I can't remember what it is, but you can have the service. I think it comes with it in the beginning, and then you can get the subscription. So if you have an emergency, it can say exactly where you are. And I don't know if his vehicle had that, but maybe that's what that is. It just really sounds like they're doing a really good job of just thinking of everything to really try to figure out exactly where he went. They know the time frame is between when the daycare saw Maddie to when Adam picked up the kids. They know that time frame. They know that it was in the daytime. He brought the kids to his parents then. So, theoretically, could he have had her held somewhere and then went back to do the unthinkable? Did he do the unthinkable and then had his kids at his parents so that he could go to the location? There's probably a lot of questions in that. And then the track and trace for Meta platforms, pen register, trap and trace, Meta platform, so it's still a lot more of the same. Google data. Okay, so what is this? Search warrant for the property described as Google data and records pertaining to reverse location obfuscated IDs, the anonymized list records from 3/17/23 to 4/15. Huh. What's that? And then they want records for the Instagram account. And we have that right here. www.instagram.com air _ time _ metadata case number. Okay. So they want his Instagram. And then, I mean, you don't even think about all the things that you do in a day that really show what you're doing now. I mean, it's crazy. And let's see here. So then they want, what do they want here? They want Maddie's Instagram for Maddie Jane MN. Okay, so they want that. And then this pen register trap and trace tracking. I've seen that several times. And then they want property described as Apple Incorporated data and records for fravelbusiness@gmail.com. And then they want Maddie's Apple Incorporated data as well for Maddie Jane K there. Maddie Jane Kingsbury. And then they want the search records for Madeline Jane K at Yahoo. And then they want the property from TikTok and records for Maddie Jane Minnesota. And they want records for VIN number. There we go. So is that the vehicle? And then they want a search warrant for the property described as Match Group data and records for Maddie. And then Match Group data. And then records for Spencer Sullivan, a foreign corporation providing services in Winona County. Records for Spencer Sullivan. I don't know what that is either. And that is signed by Nancy Boytentorp, the judge of district court. Okay. And then we go over here. Now we have, and this is the last in all of the case files and all that is going on in this case. So this is filed in district court in the state of Minnesota. And this is the notice of a rescheduled default omnibus hearing. And it is a file copy, and it is from the state of Minnesota versus Adam Taylor Fravel. And it says you are notified of the following hearing date, and that is on September 22nd, 2023. There's an omnibus hearing, and that's at 3 o'clock, and it's before District Court Judge Nancy Beitendorp, and that is in the courtroom, and it says you're expected to appear fully prepared. You must notify the court if your address changes to receive an e-reminder for future dates, blah, blah, blah. Now, I am under the impression that he's in jail, that he's being held because his bail is at $2 million. So unless his parents put up $200,000, I'm under the impression he's in jail. So I will go to that hearing, provided it's in person. If it's not, then I will try to get that Zoom link, and I will continue to keep you updated in getting justice for Maddie Jane. I will take you all through the trial. I will be there every day that I can be and keep you updated. And let's keep Madeline's children in our prayers. I know that they were kept in safe, protective foster care until Adam was arrested and Maddie was found. And then I do believe that they were released into the custody of Maddie's family. So let's keep them in our prayers. And thank you once again for listening. And if you want to buy me coffee, you know it is Tabitha Jane 13 on the Cash App. Or you can just push the little thing and do super thanks. And thank you for my super thanks that I got last night. You know who you are. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.